In my first teaching years, I struggled with traditional lesson planning. I realized I was starting my lessons with activities, fun ones, sure, but they didn't always connect to the bigger goals. I spent hours crafting what I thought were engaging activities, but something was missing. My students were lost because I hadn't clearly mapped out what I wanted them to achieve. What was the purpose of these lessons? What was I trying to achieve? What did I want my students to learn and be able to do? I realized that I needed to focus on the outcomes and the skills I wanted my students to develop.
Backward design means start with the end in mind. I realized that my planning lacked clearly defined goals. I needed to shift my perspective and put learning outcomes first. This meant understanding what I wanted my students to achieve by the end of each lesson. I started asking, what do I want my students to learn and how will I know they've learned it? Here is my takeaway. Instead of planning activities first, focus on what you want your students to learn and how they'll demonstrate that understanding.
After continuous exploring, learning, implementing, reflecting, discussing backward design, it became more clear to me how each activity connected to the overall expectations. Backward design means identifying clear learning goals and then working backward to design assessments and learning activities. I began by clearly defining learning goals that are overall expectations for the course. What specific knowledge and skills did I want my students to acquire? Next, I designed differentiated, tiered assessments aligned with those goals. This way, everyone met the core goal, but in a way that made sense for them. These assessments weren't just tests. They included projects, presentations, and collaborative activities. Each type of assessment provided a meaningful way for students to showcase their learning. Finally, I crafted engaging learning activities that would equip students with the knowledge and skills needed to succeed on the assessments. These activities were interactive and often involved real-world applications. What frameworks do you find helpful for instructional planning? I have a 30-second video about UDL and DI. Let me know if you want to see more on this topic.